Alright, everybody, we should be live for our show this week. It's been a very exciting week of things going on. We officially have the title for our podcast. This is the Safely Extreme podcast, where each week we discuss game design and game dev topics, and why you have to be a little bit of both in order to succeed. Joining me, as always, is indie developer Shark. How are you doing?
I am the safely extreme to your safely extreme.
There
That's
you
how
go.
I do it.
And as we do upgrades around here, we do them at the speed of slugs. So a lot's been happening behind the scenes. I am on my new microphone. So I am coming in at super, HD quality now.
Yep, we can hear all the crackles in your voice now.
Oh, good. Wonderful.
Just like you always could with mine, since you now have the exact same mic as I do.
Mm-hmm. It also means that you can hear when people walk around, which will be perfect when we do horror games. You can hear random noises from all around me as we're trying to play these games.
Yeah, when somebody knocks, they knock against the wall and they're like, "Ooh, just got a jump scare." Well, that was from the house, not from the game.
Mm-hmm. In some other news, I have finished the first draft of my third book. It has been sent to the publisher, and I've already pored over it 5 times, trying to figure out what else did I screw up on with it.
How many things did you screw up?
I already had to edit it 3 times, so we're up to 3 so far.
Yeah, but I mean, how many edits each of those 3 times?
Yeah, a lot. And
so your screw-up count is probably in the thousands?
Oh, yes. But it has now been sent, and in 2 weeks they're going to start actual production on it. So we're trying to get it out by November, December. So for those of you who are watching this right now, you've probably noticed there's still one last thing that needs to be done. And that is the YouTube chat. Because this past week, I had to reset Windows because it was acting slower. And now things are back to their little super speed, at least until Microsoft throws me another update that kills it. But I lost the CSS file for OBS, which means we're back to the generic looking thing right there. So that's what I'm going to be doing probably after the stream is up, taking this lovely window and experimenting with it to create a new file for it.
Yep, and this time you'll back it up.
Oh, yes. I thought I did, but I cannot
and there's Ryu to back up.
But we got certainly a lot to talk about this week. I'm trying to see how this is going to work with the microphone. Yeah, that should be good. You guys can still hear me as I'm leaning back, right?
Yeah, it's basically no difference.
Oh, good. And it does sound like it's a higher quality?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I can't hear myself, so I can only go by what you guys are saying.
Well, if you plug your headset into your mic, you can hear yourself.
Oh, good. That's just what I want to do, just hear myself talking while I'm trying to have a thought there.
Yeah, that's the reason why I never do it, because anytime that happens, it's all the brain thoughts fall out of my head onto the ground when that happens.
So, let's get to some game news, but I guess anything new that you've been playing this week, Shark?
New that I've been playing, there was something, I swear, that I've been playing new, and I'm not recalling it off the top of my head. I played the heck out of Infectinator 3 Apocalypse and beat it.
Nice.
And I apparently put 7.8 hours in it. And, all in one day, and went from start to finish and beat it. And I really, really enjoyed that game. But there was a few points where, I raged because, it was such an annoying issue to where, basically they had a cooldown timer where you could only summon, use one of your summoning abilities every 3 seconds. And like once all your zombies died on the map, you only had 5 seconds to get another one out there. So I would go down and to grab one, and I was sitting here waiting for like another 2 seconds to grab one, and then I grab it, drag it up, and I let go of the button right before the timer expires. The timer expires, and it just kicks me out and never summons the zombie in there because there's like this delay after you place it before the zombie actually gets in there. Not to mention that, combined with the like 2 or 3 seconds delay that you got to do for the cooldown timer, just like, makes it just absolutely hell, and not only that, but like, if they do kick you out like that, then you lose all your progress on that stage, and you lose all the things that you invested into that. So you could just be right at a win, and just like just one human left, and then you place one down, and it's like, yeah, we're not spawning that in until like 0.1 milliseconds after the timer ends, and like so many times, like it shows a screenshot at the end. And you see the screenshot of the square lit up, placing the zombie, but the zombie isn't there, and it says game over.
Oh.
And like that one thing just, like I can't tell you how many times I hollered at that. I was like, oh, you game, stop that. I was frustrated. But I went back to, I kept on playing despite that because it was just so fun. But those parts were just so aggravating.
Yeah.
They fix that little part right there, and they will have a very extremely solid game.
I want to type very slowly now because I am a fast and heavy typer.
Yep. And we can still hear it. You gotta not only type slow, but soft.
Oh, yeah, that's not happening.
I think there was something else I was playing. Oh, I've been playing a bit of Nantucket. Enjoying that, man. But like, it feels too RNG heavy.
Wait, Nantucket, is that the...
I think it's roguelike. Yeah.
Okay.
It feels too RNG based because, like, my team can, like, sit there and do, like, 10, 14 damage in one hit, because, like, my characters are so strong. And... a lot of the enemies only have like 3 HP, so I only need to get one hit in, and I have 3 guys, and then I'll do a roll, because like I've only got one ship on my thing, so I only can take one roll from all my characters on there, but I'll roll all 3 of my characters and we'll get nothing. Even though I've got like I think it's like 4 out of 6 chance on all 3 of them.
RNG screwing you.
Yeah, I will roll and get nothing on all 3 of them. That doesn't happen too often, but it happens more often than it should. It shouldn't basically ever happen, seeing how it's 3 characters. And the other thing is like RNG will mess me up to where, it'll just sit there and just, make it where I can't kill a character despite me being able to one-shot these enemies, and they'll just kill one of my characters. And it's like, game, no. That is unfair.
All right. For me, I've been playing the Dread X collection. Of course, lots of roguelikes. And I like the Dread X collection, but at some point we need to have, I think, a discussion about kind of like game jam or like limited time development projects. Because I feel like there's something there about, like, each one of the games that was made for was done in a 10-day period, and you can just see, like, the spectrum of quality of 10 days for different game developers.
Mm-hmm. Well, the question really remains to where they spent the 10 days at.
Mm-hmm.
Did they spend the 10 days developing something new and like little else, or did they spend 2 or 3 days developing something and then 8 or 9 days polishing it, kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, you can definitely tell, in terms of, the quality of, who really, got their idea almost immediately and ran with it versus somebody who it just feels like a prototype more than a finished game.
Mm. I mean, they may have had the idea already. They just spent a lot of, they may have went too in depth on that idea
Mm-hmm.
and not enough into polish, kind of thing. Like the Cthulhu Chan one looked pretty polished,
Mm-hmm.
but it was also very basic as of gameplay.
Yep.
Where the others were probably more gameplay focused and lacked polish.
And there's one that I didn't show on stream that I played after that I really liked. It was like a puzzle game where you have to decode and solve a message that's all written in Lovecraftian language, and you're alone in a library. And every few minutes you hear something, you look up and there's a creature trying to stalk you while you're sitting at this table trying to decode the language. Very clever idea, and I think that's where my thoughts on all these games go. They're very clever ideas, but I don't know if I would spend money on any individual one of them.
Oh, I definitely wouldn't.
Yeah.
There's no doubt behind that.
So
they're all just game jam games.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of news, so there's two kind of big pieces. The one that I want to talk about is Nintendo, and Shark has more updates on the Epic Games, Google, Apple, Microsoft, Goku. Anyone else getting on that lawsuit?
Goku's going Super Saiyan on him.
Nice. So let's start with mine because I think mine is going to be relatively quick, hopefully. And that is, of course, Nintendo had a surprise announcement regarding more Mario. Because as we all know, if Nintendo has an announcement, it must be related to Mario in some way, shape, or form. So they've announced a new AR or VR Mario Kart game. They announced the Super Mario 3D kind of collection that includes, I think it was Sunshine, Galaxy,
N64.
N64. And they announced kind of the Battle Royale Mario mode that's coming, of the original. All that on paper sounds really amazing, but the devil's in the details, it seems, with some of these news pieces. So,
yeah. Well, it sounds like the devil's more in Nintendo than the news pieces.
So the first thing is that the Battle Royale mode is actually essentially Nintendo stealing somebody's idea that they made.
Well, actually, I think they actually stole not just the idea, but the entire code base, the entire actual game from fan developers.
Mm-hmm. And
they just took and swiped the entire game from them, and then they did their own little stuff to it. Not much of anything, and then put it on their platform.
Mm-hmm. And with the 3D collection, it sounds like it's a great idea, but the problem is that, one, it doesn't include Galaxy 2, which is a very weird omission right there. And there are reports saying that it's going to be a limited time release. And that just really rubs me the wrong way.
Oh, it's very abusive. It is, straight out of the Disney Vault abusive.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's exactly what the Disney Vault is. And it's exactly the same thing they did with what was the NES Mini?
Mm-hmm.
They had more of a reason with the NES Mini, though, because they actually had to manufacture hardware for that. This is just digital.
Yep.
There's nothing they have to manufacture. There is no cost to keep it going. And they're just doing this to force people to buy it now or don't buy it at all. And I would suggest everybody to not buy it at all. Because, what I would suggest is go get an emulator before Nintendo takes them down. Because in the end, the emulator is the whole reason why they're striking down emulators is so they can do these dirty business tactics kind of thing. Like if they would just make their games available all the time, there would be nowhere near as many emulators as there are for Nintendo. And if there was nowhere near as many emulators, then people wouldn't be using as many emulators. So those would not be an issue that Nintendo would have to sue people for. So basically, Nintendo's not making their product available to creating an artificial shortage so that they can so they can get more money for it, so that they're then taking that artificial shortage, and then people don't like the artificial shortage. They're compensating for it with emulators, and then Nintendo's suing people for making the emulators, and and so they can do more abusive practices. So they're creating a problem to their abusive practice, then abusing people through a lawsuit off of their abusive practice to then do more abusive practices. By the way, Josh, you need to resize your camera on the way out.
What happened?
You need to resize your camera on the way out. It's not fitting in the frames.
Uh-oh. Let's see.
It's not tall enough.
Not tall enough?
Yeah.
Like this?
Yeah, scoot it up a little bit. There you go.
Okay. Myself a little bit over. Okay.
But you might have it a little bit too big. Well, no, I think it's fine. You're just winged in.
And all of a sudden, while I'm doing that, the chat just explodes with 10 different people. All of a sudden, I see 10 messages. Hey, Christian. Yeah. On a new mic, too, as well, if you can hear that difference. And all the clickety-clacking of my keys.
No. Ryu, protecting their IP is not making your game limited access. That's not protecting your IP. Suing emulators is not protecting your IP. Doing more limited action is not, protecting your IP. Stealing other people's games is not protecting your IP. The only thing that is protecting your IP is shutting down the fan games, which looks bad on your brand. So that's the only part that's protecting your IP. Everything else is just being anti-consumer, bullying, and creating problems on purpose. They did steal the game. They didn't steal the IP. The game is not their IP. The game and the IP are completely different, because they didn't have a multiplayer Mario game battle royale thing. That wasn't theirs. That was the fans' game. They did steal that. They didn't steal Mario, because Mario was their IP, but they stole the game.
It's that same thing that we talk about with a lot of fan-made games, that the design mechanics and the systems, that stuff is original. That stuff you can make on your own. But when you attach it to another property, that's when you run into legal trouble.
Yeah, no, Nintendo ain't going to work on eggshells. They never walk on eggshells. They just do stupid stuff and, expect you to live with it, And, you're like, oh, Nintendo. But eventually, they're going to piss people off, and they're going to and once they piss their fans off, Nintendo's screwed. Because honestly, that's the only thing they got going for them right now. Because they don't have a powerful console, they don't have a lot of games on their platforms. They only have like their first party titles, and if they screw over their fans enough to where they won't support their first party titles anymore, Nintendo's dead, like forever. Like they can make all of the consoles and everything they want after that point, but they'll all crash because people aren't going to support that bullcrap. So if they have a ton of first party games, I'm talking about when they screw people over to where they won't buy first party games. The 3DS doesn't exist anymore. That's an old platform. That's last gen. The Switch is this gen.
I think the thing with Nintendo is that they've always have been, the black sheep when it comes to like the other console manufacturers. I mean, they're still behind in terms of online functionality with their games. There's too many fan kids. Yeah, that's certainly true.
Yeah, but they keep on screwing over these fan games and everything. The hardest core, they're burning the core of their fan base essentially. And if you burn out your entire core of your fan base, then there's nobody hyping your games anymore. And if there's nobody hyping your games anymore, the only people that's buying your games are coming straight from your marketing because they ain't coming from your fans. They're killing word of mouth is what they're killing. Mm-hmm. And if they completely kill all word of mouth, and they actually spawn word of mouth in the negative sense, then that's anti-marketing competing with their pro-marketing, and all their word of mouth is gone, and that's what they're going for. And if they burn out that core, that's exactly what's going to happen, and that'll be the end of Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo won't die right there. But the fact is they will, every console that they make after that, they won't succeed. It'll be like the Wii U all over again. Every console will be the Wii U all over again until they eventually run out of money. I mean, it'll take them a lot of Wii U's to run out of money. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Blizzard isn't, killing all of their core fan base yet.
They're just doing it slowly, one franchise at a time.
Yeah, because the thing is Blizzard has they have a fast turnaround. They did all the crap with Blizzard with China and everything, and they killed a lot of their fans. And then they made it right back up to a lot of those fans by saying, "Hey, here's a new trailer for Diablo 4. Here's Overwatch 1.1. I meant 2 or 1.1, and and whatnot." And they earned so many people right back because of that. Nintendo is just stealing people's games, shutting fan projects down, and then doing nothing to cover up for it. Blizzard knows what they're doing with their manipulation. Nintendo's just, completely inept when it comes to their manipulation. They just do bad stuff, and they're like, deal with it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the next Smash Brothers for sure. I mean, all they have to do is announce like a Undertale collaboration or another one, and that'll win everybody over.
Probably.
Mm-hmm. And they put a Megalovania in a Smash. So, yeah, again, somebody was defending Nintendo saying, "Oh, they do this all the time." And I'm like, yeah, it was bad then, so it's bad now. In terms of locking down their games. And again, we've said this before, Nintendo is terrible when it comes to backwards compatibility and game preservation. And you would think they would be on one of the better sides because all their systems have a virtual console and support like that, but they're always tied to the respective platform. So, I hope you enjoy buying all your classic games on the Wii. Now you gotta do it on the Wii U. and now you have to do it on the Switch, and then you
Mm-hmm.
got to do it on whatever the next platform is.
And even at that, they don't even make them all available. They just make like a certain few available.
Mm-hmm. And I can use my
Because
psychic powers to predict that it will be the Mario Brothers games will be on their new virtual console.
yeah, the Mario's will be on Mario 1 through 3 will be on every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But the other stuff is where
Yeah.
comes into trouble.
Yeah, and yeah, back then, like GameCube to what was it? No, Wii to GameCube, Wii to Wii U. Like that was pretty good. I mean, we could see, them making an attempt there, but it's the same issue that we see with a lot of these platforms these days, and how hard it is to, walk that line between game preservation and just nickeling and diming you for the same games every 5, 6 years or every console cycle.
Yeah, speaking of backwards compatibility, it's said that the PlayStation 4 could very easily backwards compatible every game on the PlayStation 3, and they're going to limit it to only a certain ones.
Ugh. Really?
Yep. Yeah.
So annoying.
Yeah. Sony used to be a pretty good company back in like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 era, but when it went to PlayStation 3 era, they were like, hey, how can we be a douchebag and get more money? And thus, everything came out with the PS3, the cheap fans in the American models, not the Japanese models, but the American models had cheap fans, so they would overheat,
Mm-hmm.
And you had the we consider you running your console for more than 30 minutes abuse. It's like it takes more than that to get the game booted, and because you abuse your console, we're not going to warranty it in any kind of way.
Yeah.
For our downgraded fan and like all this other stuff, and they just keep on getting worse and worse. Did somebody take over as CEO, somewhere time right not long but before the PlayStation 3 released?
Hell no.
Because it sure seems like it. Because they went from like a really, pretty consumer friendly, good company to really pretty scummy pretty quickly.
So with that, let's get to our weird games. Oh wait, actually, let's get to your news piece. So, what is happening with the Epic Google everybody fight? It's a battle royale lawsuit.
Yeah. So, Apple has officially banned Fortnite from the store,
Mm-hmm.
and they've banned all of Epic's games. Not just Fortnite, all of the Epic's games. And I'm unsure if that means if you can still play it if you already had it installed on your device or not. I'm thinking it means that you can't, but it might be like delisting it like on Steam to where if you own it already, you can already do stuff to it, but if you don't own it, then you can't do anything to it. But I'm unsure kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't play it, Mojo? Mojo says you can't play it. At least I think that's what he's saying.
Okay.
So it's completely down. All of Epic's games. But the Epic, all the other games made in the Epic engines are still up. Because the judge ordered Apple that they cannot touch those games. They have to leave those up. And we're waiting for more word kind of thing, and right now it's Microsoft has joined Epic in their fight against Apple. That's got to be big right there.
Yes.
And of course like Microsoft, Apple, I mean like Epic, Apple has their own motivations because like Apple, with the same rule that they shut down the Epic Store, did something to the Microsoft too that they were trying to do, and I can't remember what it was, but they shut shut them down too.
Oof.
And Microsoft has not been happy about that for a while. I didn't hear about that until recently. And but like, Microsoft wants that stuff going away just as badly as Epic does.
The monsters are teaming up to fight each other. I think is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and you're like, well, Epic's a big company, but Apple's a massive company. Yeah, but now you have, Microsoft, which is a Titanic company. So now you have a Titanic company and a big company versus a massive company. Apple's probably getting a little bit worried about now. Because they're like, yeah, we can stall out, we can stall through Epic. Epic ain't got, all that much money. And then Microsoft jumps in and it's like, hold my beer,
No, hold my millions of beers.
Yeah. And despite how much money, Apple has, I'm pretty sure Microsoft has a lot more.
No.
Probably 200-300 times more. And we're Apple has 200 or 300 times, probably 1,000 times what Epic has. But so they were worried about Epic, so they were like, yeah, we'll just ban them all, and then now that Microsoft's got in there, they're probably sweating bullets now.
All we need now is Valve to jump in. Just like have them coming out of nowhere.
Well, if Valve jumps in, they'll probably jump in on Apple's side.
Oh,
but the thing is see, if I can't speak. If Microsoft and Epic are able to beat Apple in this, then that's going to create precedents. Which then right after it does that, then they are going to go after Android and Steam. And that'll be really good for us developers. Yep. It'll also be really good for Epic because they want to make a lot of money that way.
Oh, yeah. So it's also going to be really good PR for Epic as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and, this is one of the few things I actually back Epic on because this is going to be a heck of a fight. But if they can pull it off, this is going to be really good for the industry as a whole.
Yep.
It's going to be even better for Epic, but it's going to be really good for the industry as a whole.
But we are still in the unknown period of what's going to happen. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Again, 2020 is not going to end quietly, I think.
Was there ever a quiet moment in 2020?
I think at the first day. I think January 1st.
No. Because Corona started like last year, technically. And Corona started, I think it was like in August of last year, and by the time it hit January, it was pretty blown up. Just wasn't here in the U.S. blowing up.
All right, but with that, let's get to some of our weird games, and then we will get to our main topic. So I still have to again get the CSS generated for the chat, but at least you guys can see. So we picked some games beforehand. Shark found a very interesting list. And I'm just going to say, if there's any games here you find too weird, just blame it on Shark this time. Just do what I do.
Blame it on Josh for not having time to go through Keymailer, and I had to go through it for him. Instead of us both doing it.
So, our first one is Pixel Art Mashup. And when we talk about, aesthetics, this very first line thing kind of sticks out. It's a mashup of pixel art made by at least 14 different artists. You'll know who the artists of your game.
And look at that UI.
Let's see. Oof.
And looks like a score base because you see the score up at the top.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad looking pixel art though.
I'm not seeing 13 different artists and their styles.
Well, they probably matched each other pretty well. Like, I mean, you can definitely tell the character is different from the background kind of thing. And the enemies are definitely different than that. That tree person, treant, and the bull. Those are definitely very different.
Yeah.
And the background could be somebody different, but they matched well enough to the tile set.
Yeah.
So they do go together.
The UI though is just not it's sticking out in the wrong way.
Yeah. I wonder if that was one of the artists.
And remember, like we said, all UI elements have to match the aesthetics of your game, or it just really takes down the quality. Let's see. So this next one, this is one that I picked, and it showed on the very first page. This is As Far as the Eye.
I thought you said you weren't picking any of them.
I found one immediately, just before you started looking at it. And I like the art of this game. It does look a little busy from some of these screenshots. But it is a nomadic turn-based city builder with a procedurally generated world. So it looks like it could have some interest. I like the graphics.
Yeah.
We normally don't see city builders having like a very fancy or very fantasy kind of look to them.
Yeah.
And it looks like it is going to be hex-based, as you can tell by that final screenshot there.
I couldn't tell that it was going to be X-Space.
All those hexes in the background.
Yeah.
And it's being published by...
I thought it was going to be Squarebase.
And it is being published by Goblin's Studio. And they've been, like... I wouldn't say they've been on the ball, but they've been publishing a lot of very interesting indie games this past year.
They've made quite a name for themselves in this very short time that we've heard of them.
Mm-hmm. They did, of course, what was it? What was in that game? The dungeon management one? Keeper, Legend of Keeper.
Legend of Keepers?
Yeah. They did another one. And, I mean, they're really doing a lot of unique indie games, which is really solid. I guess that's only solid in my book. So we'll see if we get a key for them. I'm surprised I didn't get an email, which usually I do. Alright, so this is another one from Shark. And I don't know what the hell this game is. In this version of the game, it is still in the alpha phase. There may be changes from the original, okay? What's the original?
Yeah. It's apparently a venture casual early access indie RPG simulation.
Wait, how could you... I couldn't believe this is an indie game. I can't believe it's not indie.
Yeah, I can't believe it's not early access.
Mm-hmm. The NPC will have to adjust the personality to match the balance, and some NPCs still cannot talk. What?
English was not their first or second language.
With respect from the team. Alright, I guess it's a side-scroller. And that's all I get from these screenshots.
I'm getting maybe it's like a like the 2D side-scrolling Zelda kind of gameplay.
I don't know. Alright, so this next one... This sounds like one of those... We're making the dream game first kind of ideas. So this is a 100 active locations updated in real time, up to 100 space stations producing, procedural geometry, all resources presented in 3D. So this sounds like Space Super Factorio.
Kind of.
And I don't know what's happening in any of these screenshots. Do you know what's happening?
No, I don't.
Oh, I like this one. Remember we said about how it's very hard to showcase like strategy games on a thumbnail? This is why. Because
It's very
doesn't
hard
this?
to do gameplay even in it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's turn-based is just so hard to get. Anything for like trailers or anything.
Mm-hmm. And again, it's one of those ideas that it sounds like it's a dream idea, but the problem is that dream ideas often end in nightmares.
Yep.
Especially if this is a first game.
Incomplete.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
And
Tim
train wrecks.
and Kuna. Spin a smash. Use all your skills and abilities. Graphics look decent. It looks...
Kind of generic though.
Yeah. This looks like a very, like, generic, like, Unreal Engine kind of game to me.
Yeah, kind of.
Nothing looks bad, but nothing sticks out. And sometimes that could be worse, I think. Like, remember last week with that animal eating game?
Yeah.
The line's like jumping with his mouth, like his jaw unhinged.
Yeah. Did you get a key for that?
No, I did not. I put in for it and I got nothing.
You might have to get that one.
Mm-hmm.
Why is your layout on this a little bit weird?
Which part?
That's got 4 sections. It's got your camera, me. It's got.
That's just we don't have. I don't have any space or anything else to fit there. I guess I could put the. Oh yeah, that's right. I could put the Save the Extreme logo there too.
Yeah, you could.
All right. Let's see if I can do that really fast. Well, I don't know. You think I should put in for that press key?
You could.
All right.
Doesn't hurt.
Let's see.
Worst case scenario, we'll have another game to be like, yeah, this is not a good game, or maybe it is. I would put the actual logo.
But would it fit neatly there, or?
Yeah, it should. While you're doing that, I'll respond to David here. The thing is yeah, only 600 people under 60 died, but that's why everybody's staying at home. You know, like if we were taking all the precautions, you know, that number would be a lot bigger. You know, it's you need to downscale the image. You know, the fact is it's only 600 because we've been trapped inside the house. You know, like you take away the trapped inside the house, and that number will be, you know, thousands of times higher. Because, you know, already with that 600, like our hospitals are getting very, very full. And we're almost hitting capacity. So, like, if you went much higher than that, then, you know, if you exceeded the hospital, then that means people can't get treated, which means the death rate is going to go up tremendously for everybody who can't go to the hospital. So, you know, just going up by 10% in numbers would probably make the death count go up by 100%. And if we were not all staying at home through isolation and social distancing, then the numbers would probably go up 200 or 300%, you know, which means the death toll will probably go up by like a few thousand%. You need to make the logo just a little bit smaller.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I don't see why you wouldn't believe that, because that's all clear facts. You know, that the hospitals are close to their limit. The fact that, you know, most people have been staying inside.
All right. So back to the games here. So this is Bounty Battle. So it's basically the indie version of Smash, which I guess it's nice, but I don't know. Does this seem like it's going to be the next hit game to you?
I'm pretty sure it'll fall out of favor real quick. It'll probably get a lot of buzz really quickly because of all the properties it's attached to.
Mm-hmm.
But then the gameplay will probably not be there, and even if the gameplay is there, the gameplay will probably not match the originals, which would mean that the original fans will stop playing it, and it'll end up. What's that one game? Something Brawlers, I think. I believe you played it with Thorn.
Brawlhalla?
Yeah,
or
Brawlhalla.
that Rivals of Aether?
Both of them.
Yeah.
I think it'll go the same way as both of those. Which those were pretty big when they first came out, and then they just almost instantly died down.
Yeah.
And I mean, they still have a loyal fan base, but it's not very big. It's not a massive fan base or anything, and it's just, it's not the easiest to find a match if you were to join that game new. I mean, you can find it fast, but you're going to be playing against the same players over and over again.
And to Brian's comment, yeah, there was a Cartoon Network one. I know it was on mobile. Sony, of course, tried theirs. And, the problem I have with this is that I think this is a very big stretch on indie properties. Again, there's a reason why Smash works, because Nintendo is Nintendo once again.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Electronic World Z. So is this a Dragon Ball Z clone?
No.
What the heck?
But Goku is definitely in on the lawsuit.
Okay. Ooh, 26 levels to play. And it's story-driven. Solo dev.
What do you think about the art? Specifically the character.
Yeah, very basic walk cycle, too.
Yeah. And look at the green version of the character in the last screenshot.
Let's see. Oh. Backgrounds look very busy to me.
Yeah. Backgrounds don't look bad, but they went too much on the backgrounds. Mm-hmm. They needed place for the eyes to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And then other places the backgrounds are too, plain.
Yeah. Like something like this.
It went too plain in some areas and too out in left field on others.
So it's safely extreme.
It's more like extremely safe. It looks like your kind of you're platforming there.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I guess I could put in forward.
You and your masochism.
Yeah. So this next one, this is actually a game that we looked at during the summer festival, Omno. And
Prologue.
Yeah. So this was done by a sole developer. And again, this is that issue. We keep returning this issue about kind of how no two indies are alike. This is a game from a solo developer, and the other game was a game from a solo developer.
Mm-hmm.
You can really tell the difference here, can't you?
I can't tell any difference. They look identical to me.
Yeah, they all look like Call of Duty.
Exactly.
I will put in for that. Alright, Rad Rocket. Ooh, no save scumming, no checkpoints, no mercy. Failure is a feature.
And bad, user experience.
Mm-hmm. I like how the tutorial is easygoing, but it's also optional.
Yeah, and you know what we've said about, if your tutorial is optional, you got bigger issues.
So here's a little question for you and for the chat. Where's the main character in this screen?
Yeah, I was looking for that myself.
I don't see him.
I don't either.
I barely see him here.
Maybe that's a first-person section? Because you can see the crosshair on there.
There he is on that one.
Or maybe that's him jumping from that building on the top.
Wait, I think I see him. I think he's right here.
Right at the roof line?
Yeah. Because I can see like a laser sight.
Yeah.
This game is Where's Waldo?
Yeah. I think that is him. And that's a bad thing, because if you have to play Where's Waldo with your character, you're in real bad trouble.
Oh, yes. And to David's question, did I play Rocket League? I played like once. And again, like competitive games just do not interest me. Let's see. So, two last quick ones from me. This is the one that we looked at during the Summer Festival. A Monsters Expedition. So it's coming out. And I like this game. It doesn't seem to be that complicated of a title. But it does seem like a very solid game all around. It's from the developer of A Good Snowman is Hard to Build, which I heard that game got a lot of praise.
Was it by Snowman?
Mm-hmm. Before they melted.
Mm.
And then my final one, this is one that it just showed as I was just looking very quickly. And I had to bring this up because here's some more lovely screenshots. Can you tell what's happening here?
Blackness.
Different blackness.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a description. It's a third-person team survival horror brawler. Whew. That is a genre right there.
Yeah. Man, how does brawler have anything to do with survival horror?
You roundhouse kick Dracula?
That's not really a brawler, unless it's like, I don't know, like a fighting game or something.
Wait a minute. If you look at the UI in the bottom right, it says Orb, Smash, and which is a spell with a Y. Also,
so here's the question for chat. Would you orb or would you smash?
Well, if we're speedrunning, I think the answer is Orb. Alright, they're spelling all the creatures' names wrong on purpose, I guess, to maybe avoid any kind of a public domain issue.
You mean copyright issue?
Yeah.
I mean, public domain, you're free to do whatever with.
That is a very bad UI.
Oh, wait, go back to one of the screenshots. That one right there. Activate Windows. They haven't activated their Windows and they're taking screenshots.
Oh, man. You think this is a first-time developer?
Oh, it has to be with that activate Windows watermark.
Yeah, I don't see this one being the next big sensation.
Is there a place to comment on Kim Miller? I've never looked.
Nah. You could send him a message. I think.
Maybe we should send them a message and tell them that they should activate Windows.
Oh. For the indie devs watching this live record right now, here's your pro tip of the week. Make sure to activate Windows before you take a screenshot.
Yeah.
Alright. But with that, let's get to our
Are we not going to do knife fight?
Oh, wait. I think we looked at that one last week, because I remember we checked that one out.
I don't think we did. I'm pretty positive we didn't. It's, there's a, like a apostrophe in between the knife and the K and the N. No, the K and the N, not the...
That's another thing. That's another problem when you have algorithms. You gotta be really careful about having punctuations in your title name.
Mm-hmm. It's
So
gotta be.
make
You gotta have a safe way of stream name.
mhm. So when you do Project Try It, I expect 3 ampersands. You should have 2 hyphens in there, and at least 4 apostrophes.
I would, but it's kind of too late since it's already named.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond Continuum.
Throw a few
Maybe,
numbers in there too. You gotta replace the letters with numbers, like with thief.
yeah, maybe I can
Three.
replace the eyes with ones
Mm-hmm.
and put like a ampersand after the M in
Mm-hmm.
Continuum.
Throw a few hashtags in there, just randomly.
I'll put hashtag neon.
There we go. So this is Knife Fight. Dog takes a strong stand against pay-to-win tactics.
How does it take a strong sense against pay to win tactics?
Because they only have cosmetics.
Wait, they have cosmetics?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a free to play game?
I don't know. But who
It
will
doesn't
win?
look like one.
Who wins between Forky and Knifey?
You'll have to, you know, tune in for that one.
Stick
I
a
know
fork
the
in it.
answer. Yeah, I know the answer.
All right.
It's easy as rock, paper, and scissors.
All right. But with that, let's get to our main topic, because this should be a really good one, and we'll see how long this one goes as well. There I am. All right.
Because Josh really wanted to do this topic.
Yep. We are talking about hero collector design, or just that general genre. So I've been playing a lot of mobile games in my spare time, and of course we've been looking at kind of like this focus on these kinds of games, especially with stuff like, pick any major licensed property game on mobile, and there's at least 3 to 10 different games from them. And there aren't, they will be coming soon. And the hero collector genre kind of draws parallels to deck buildings and CCGs. In that, wait, I think I'm hearing an echo. Is that me or you?
I'm not hearing one.
Hello, hello?
I'm not hearing one.
That's weird. Well, how am I hearing it through my headset? Okay. Well, but the point is that for these kinds of hero collectors, that... What is that noise? Hold on. Hello, hello? Test, test? It's weird. It's like as soon as I start talking, I'm hearing like a slight reverberation.
Well, check OBS and make sure nothing got screwed up in your settings. Which mic is going off of.
Yeah,
because if it's going off of both mics, you might have that. But I'm not hearing it.
That's weird.
Is the stream hearing an echo?
Yeah, let me know if it's like you're in a hall.
Well, that's the reverberation. That's because he doesn't have any sound panels. Neither do I, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
But his room is worse than mine.
It's smaller too, I think. Alright. But to bring this back on topic, so with kind of like the whole idea of so I'm going to probably have to get, so I sound quality wise better, but it's slightly the reverb.
Okay, now you can now your old headset wouldn't pick up the reverb that is in your room because it wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got better mic. Now it's picking up that reverb as well as you better.
Well, I moved the mic a little bit closer. Maybe that will do something. But when we talk about kind of the hero collector genre, it draws those parallels to deck builders in that they are always designed around, gotta collect them all, you gotta build a team, you have to do all that. And they've become, I think, very annoying, or they can become very, scummy in terms of their practices. And I know, Shark, you've been playing a few of them, you've been playing the Bleach one, I've been playing a few as well, and you can tell that the design is on point to keep people addicted to play.
Technically, I'm developing one, but I'm developing a
Yeah.
good one.
So, what do you think about like this kind of design?
Well, if you do it right, it can be really good, kind of thing. But if you do it wrong, it can be extremely abusive. It all comes down to monetization. Like Pokemon did it technically because you got to catch them all. Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
And they just did, you buy the game and you get all the collecting that you want, kind of thing. That's a good version of that. My new model, I'm doing everything I can to make it a good, model. But if you plug in the standard bad monetization of free to play, not the very few good monetizations out there free to play, but if you plug in the standard bad one, then it becomes very badly because of the hero collecting. Because this is all the things we can sell you, and then they can combine that with loot boxes and everything else, and just make it all much worse. Luckily, the one I play doesn't really go the loot box route. I mean, there is technically loot boxes, but it's a more realistic loot box, because what it is basically if you buy 10 loot boxes, which you pretty much always do unless you get free ones, kind of thing, then you get a character, you get a whole character, and then you get 9 other things, kind of thing, and you get one free every time. And once that one hits the 10th one, they give you a free character too. So every 10, you get a free character, kind of, a whole complete character. It may be a duplicate, but it's, you get the guaranteed characters. And like sometimes I do a spin of, 10 and get like 3 or 4 characters, kind of thing. Usually I just get the one though, but they're not going, they've gone, they're definitely not consumer friendly, but they're not horribly off in that left field to where everything's RNG based. All the odds are just ridiculously low. There's nothing guaranteed. All that kind of crap. They at least did not go that route. They're still very anti-consumer and very quite pay to win, but they're not by any means the worst or even close to the worst. I wish they were, but they aren't, sadly.
Yep. So my mic sounds better. I moved it a little bit closer now. Okay.
It definitely reduced the reverb. The thing is that the reverb's coming because it's bouncing off your wall. So the farther you can get your mic away from your wall, the less it's going to be.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I can go any closer other than, getting like that whole boom setup.
Yeah. I still need a boom myself.
Yeah. But
I'd rather have the thing behind me. Actually, I'd rather have both. But I've never got around to it.
But yeah, like with the Hero Collector, so I've tried Azure Lane, Marvel Strike Force, the Bleach game. I only played a little bit of that one. Marvel's Contest of Champions, Guardian Tales, and there are a few other ones. I think I'm down to only like 2 or 3 right now. And what makes these things so popular is that it's the same kind of thing that we see with deck builders. That each hero is in of itself its own unique character with its own unique powers and abilities and so on, that you can then again synergize with a team. And you don't need to do a whole lot in order to make that be very effective, or to, keep somebody invested. As Shark said, with the whole idea of, the rarity systems, that some of these games have like a 2% chance, some have 4%. I think the most I've seen is like 7 or 8%. And again, that is per, gotcha or per loot box opening.
And Yeah, I mean, to David's point, like this is his brand new bike. He's not going to buy another brand new bike, and
No.
this is a really good bike because it's the exact same one I got. He's
Mm-hmm.
just got to get his configured and everything,
Oh,
and he
yes.
needs accessories and such. I need accessories too, but mine, I don't need them as badly as Josh does. It's a Rhodes NT USB, I think it is.
Yeah.
It's a studio mic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a professional studio mic with a 30-foot long USB cord. Isn't that right, Josh?
Yeah. I don't need the 30 foot.
The 30 foot is made to go from your computer and into the sound booth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't
But
have
it
a
is,
sound booth here.
yeah. But you do need a little bit of sound booth stuff in your room to get rid of that reverb.
Mm-hmm. So, like, with the games that we've played, or the ones I play and the ones Shark has had a chance to look at, that you can tell that they are designed around that long-term monetization model. That,
Yeah, the one game that you haven't played that you probably need to play is Raid Shadow Legends
mm,
because that is 100% a hero collector game.
mm-hmm. I mean, we
And
see like idle games have hero collectors in them. Again, there's Arknights. It's a tower defense hero collector. You name it. Again, you can throw anime characters into just about anything and turn into a hero collector.
well, the bigger animes anyway.
Mm-hmm. And again, the allure of this design is that you can have each character be an original function. It gets into that kind of, again, the same kind of designs as we see with deck builders, that one new card can change your entire deck. But the problem, though, is that in a deck builder, or at least in the fairer ones, you know, cards retain their viability. In a hero collector, it's
Still point.
either 6 star or bust.
Yeah. With mine, it's 5 star or bust. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
can go all the way up to 7, and you can go beyond 7, kind of thing. But 5 is where the main thing is. Like they're 3 and below is not completely useless, but useless compared to the 4 and 5 stars.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get a really powerful character like Yamamoto, who is one of the most OP characters in the game, even at 2 stars, he was pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I first got him, he was 2 stars, and I put him right in my party, and he was the second strongest on my team because like my Kimpachi was stronger than him. But now that I've got him upgraded to 5 stars, like my 5 star Kimpachi kind of thing,
Hmm.
now he's the strongest in my.
Yeah. And this is this is the big problem with this kind of design, where it gets very scummy in terms of its practice. That because the characters, and just like cards, are unique in terms of their utility, it means that there are definitely power scale issues in terms of how viable a team, a deck, or an individual character is in the grand scheme of things.
Not
So,
necessarily, because if you balance it right, because that's the thing you run into card games. Thing,
mhm,
I'm running into with Project Triad kind of thing, and I still haven't fully ran into it kind of thing because that's going to really come through with playtesting a lot of it. But you need to balance things in such a way that maybe stuff is better than other stuff. I mean, you can't avoid that,
yeah,
but that better stuff can be more expensive kind of thing. Like, and I don't mean more expensive to obtain by pay to win methods. I mean
mhm,
more expensive to actually use kind of thing.
yeah,
Like the like the way Magic the Gathering. The way I'm going to do it is like either give the card some debuff powers on
mhm,
top of the buff powers, or like raise the mana cost, raise the energy cost of the
yeah.
card. You know,
Or the complexity as well, like we see with Gwent, that a lot of the high tier cards, like the gold, they rate the cards bronze, silver, gold in Gwent. A lot of the gold tier cards have like very crazy effects associated to them, and they're designed that way to kind of promote expert level play. It's not a case of, I throw down this gold card, I win automatically. It's, I need to make my deck work with this gold card and make sure my plan comes together, and then I have a chance at winning. Whereas, for a lot of these games...
Yeah, for a lot of these games, they don't do that balancing. They purposely leave it unbalanced, for the fact is these are the ones that will win, and these are the ones that will lose, and all the ones that will win, you're going to have to pay this money to get them.
Oh, yeah. And this is the part that is very scummy, and this is something that I've noticed very lately, is that these developers, if there's one thing people love, and this actually goes back to our Nintendo discussion from earlier in this chat, they love limited time promotions. Because they can really get that psychological twist, the twist of the blade in somebody saying, oh, you only have 2 months to buy this, or if you don't get this in the next week, it's gone for an entire year. So...
yeah, my Bleach game does that.
Yeah, so the 2 games I played are Sur Lane and Guardian Tales. I signed on to both of them when they were doing their special, they have 100-day or a half-year anniversary kind of deal there. And because I signed on and started playing during those week to 2 week celebration, I literally got the best characters in the game. And I only played those games for 5 days before I got them. Somebody who's been playing these games from the very start and having the worst characters, they were playing the game worse than me, and I've been playing this game for 5 days. I mean, literally with Guardian Tales, I'm not kidding you. I pulled on the 2 banners, the 2 best characters in the game, and the 2 best weapons in the game for said characters.
RNG liked you.
Oh yeah, like I said, I used up all my luck for those, and that's what. After that, my computer problems started to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, the thing is that I don't think limited time events on their own is bad.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do them the way they do them, they become bad. We have limited time events that are very good for consumers, like Steam sales.
Mm-hmm.
That is a limited time event. Any kind of sale is a limited time event. So limited time events on their own are not necessarily bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's the implementation with everything else.
Yeah.
To where it's a limited time event for this really powerful OP thing. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to lock it behind a wall that nobody else can get it again after that.
Or
with a sale, you can still buy a game after that. It's just a full price,
Yeah.
You can't just not buy the game anymore. It's never available again. You can buy it. You're just not going to get 50% off. You're going to have to pay, 100% of the price.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Marvel Strike Force, for instance, that they take their legendary characters and put them around limited time events. So they'll give you a few weeks notice when the next event is coming up, yes. But it can take months of grinding or, a few days of spending money to get, the things you need for those characters. And if you miss it, guess what? You are now useless in PvP because everybody has those awesome characters and you don't. And it just leads into these situations of, the haves versus the have-nots, or the rich getting richer.
Yep. And I know, I'm, I think, 7th in PvP right now in my Bleach game.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this one is one of those that, the rich do get richer kind of thing, but it's not by much kind of thing. Because, being... I think if you're first place, I think you get I think it's 600 jades every 2 weeks, where I think like fifth place, and I got third place last time. Fifth place, I think, got like 520 or something. And by the time you get down to like 100th place, which most serious players are in there, kind of thing. It was only down to like 400. So there was only like a difference of like maybe 200 between like first and 100th, and like anybody who's seriously playing the game is probably in the top 100 because everybody else pretty much quit. Either that or they just joined the server kind of thing, and they joined the wrong server because they need to join a new server.
Mm-hmm. And that's the issue with a lot of these PvP, and this is why a lot of these games go PvP in terms of their design. Because it's both the best way to show off. Look at me, I have all 6-star, major characters. And it's also a way to kind of say to players, hey, loser, why are you still using 3-star characters? You're never going to make progress. Roll a few gotchas.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to Ramin about this, and he describes it as player versus victim gameplay.
Mm.
And you see this in a lot of PvP-focused games that allow you to either target somebody who's incredibly lower level than you to get a free kill, or you become the target when your only option is to choose between 3 characters who are like 5 times stronger than all your best characters.
Yeah.
And
I know, definitely run into that on my Bleach game.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about these kinds of hero collectors, like, what makes them, like speaking about PvP, in the 7 Deadly Sins one, I saw they just unleashed a new character who his ultimate basically does damage that nullifies the rock, paper, scissors balance. So they basically put nuclear missile into rock, paper, scissors. And people will argue, I think this is the point, you'll always have defenders of this game, or defenders of these kinds of games, and they'll say one of two things. One, if it's a PvP-focused game, they will say, oh, there's always a counter. And the problem with that is that, yes, there is probably a counter. It's probably stupidly expensive, and a free player will never be able to get that counter.
Yeah. You have to, like, to do a proper game, you need to be, as a free-to-play, you need to balance for the free players to actually be able to get stuff properly. And, that's really been the focus of my game kind of thing because, like, we're not having a paid currency. What we're having is you can buy more of the free currency kind of thing. And, we're balancing it in a way that the free players can buy anything because the free currency is the paid currency kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about the free currency being valuable. Now we have to watch out and be careful that we don't give away too much of the free currency, because the fact is, if we give away too much, then the free currency isn't worth anything. And if we're too stingy on it, then we're being anti-consumer and anti-free player kind of thing. So we're going to have to, pull that safely extreme balance there between, the two values there, and try to strike that balance in there that makes it valuable, but not too, not too free kind of thing, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
I don't know what the term would be on that, but like and it's going to be hard. I haven't gotten into that yet, but it's going to be hard when I do it. And, it's going to be absolutely crucial, because if I screw that up, the entire game's screwed. Because, if I go too high, then the entire game is screwed because free players get screwed. It's anti-consumer. And if I go too low, then paying players have no reason to actually pay, and they just become free players, and then I make no money from the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it is literally, do or die on that specific thing, and it's not going to be an easy thing to do.
Nope. Of course not, and that's always been this issue. And not only do you have to worry about that, you have to worry about your competitors making games, because that's another big point. Because if somebody gets ripped off by one hero collector or one deck building game, they're not going to play another one. What's that expression? Once burnt, twice shy.
Yeah.
And then the other comment that you'll see from defenders is that a free player can do all the content in the game. Why are you complaining about having to spend money? A free player can beat the campaign. I beat it with 3-star characters. With my super advanced account, and this is the other problem with these kinds of games. They are always set up to be needlessly complicated and overly detailed in terms of their design. Yes, it's probably possible with the perfect 3-star team to do all the content. But how the hell is a new player or somebody who hasn't played a game for 8 to 10 years know how to do that?
Oh, it's definitely not, on the game I'm playing, the Bleach game.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Bleach game that I'm playing, it's very hard to get it through with the high characters.
Yeah.
All the way through. Like, I get stuck in the I'm like, top 10, like, consistently forever, and I was third last time in PvP, and yet I have trouble getting through the basic story campaign to unlock more power to make my character stronger.
Yep. In the Marvel Contest of Champions game, I watched somebody who's played the game for 6 years start over on a free account and made like 4 or 5 months of progress in 7 days. And he basically came out and said that the only reason I did this was because I know everything there is about this game. And it is just very annoying. And again, these games are always set up to be frustrating. And why those early 5 and 6-star characters and those best cards are so great. But again, in that same practice, you are inherently handicapping somebody who doesn't get access to it.
Mm-hmm.
And with some of the ones that I've been playing, this is the other point. There's always a grind to these games. And it's the beauty about them. They can be set up for endless grinds because every character needs to go through the same grinding process.
Well, not all of them. I mean, card games aren't that way.
Yeah, but focusing more on the hero collector side. Yeah. And with, like, deck builders, like, going back to them for a second, like, the beauty about a deck builder is that, again, there is no such thing as the one card that saves a deck. While cards can, make a deck work, it's not that same vein that, oh, you didn't get, this 6-star variant, well, you're useless now.
Well, I mean, it is kind of that way in Yu-Gi-Oh! And
some of the more expensive ones.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Hearthstone are that way, but the others are not.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I turned to really enjoying learning about Gwent. Because Gwent does a lot of things differently in terms of how these balances work. And again, CCG balance, that's another topic. We don't have the time to get into that today.
Mm-hmm.
And good card balance is very similar to good hero or rarity balance. That you have to be aware of how all this stuff fits together. And this is something that I see, like, when we talk about, like, long term. I think this is something I'm sure you're thinking about with Project Triad. That, if your game does well, and we are talking 2, 3, 4 years down the line, how does your content stay relevant? Or does it become an endless arms race?
I mean, to a point it does, but not in a bad way kind of thing. Because, like, it becomes an arms race as in to get the best deck. But the best deck isn't going to be, like, necessarily the rarest stuff. because like I'm building the deck, around a strategy focus. So the arms race is for the best strategy and getting the cards you need to make the best strategy kind of thing. And that is your arms race, But the thing is that, basically, you're arms racing to the meta kind of thing. And then you're arms racing to the anti-meta meta.
Oh, of course.
And then you're arms racing to the anti meta kind of thing.
And then whenever a new character comes out, then you're racing to that.
Yeah, and it is arms race in that way, but it's a strategy arms race rather than a let's get these specific things that are going to just automatically win.
Yep, and that is something again that we see from a lot of these hero collectors, because as we know, when you're talking about a live service game, there must always be new content. Because if a meta gets solidified or people aren't, seeing any kind of meaningful progress, they're going to stop playing. So you can just keep throwing new characters, keep throwing new cards. But therein lies that problem, that all the stuff starts just getting layered and layered on top of each other into just this crazy mess. Like, in Assur Lane, for instance, they're up to, I think, 480 different ship/anime girls in that game. And I am very certain that a vast majority of them, most people do not even use at all. In Dragon Ball Goken, one of those, it's a Match 3 Dragon Ball game. I'm pretty sure there's at least like 200 different versions of Goku in that game. With all the updates and such. And
yeah, I know the way that like Magic the Gathering deals with that kind of thing. Is they have standard and what's the other one? I forget the other one. Well, I mean, yeah, they have the drafts, but the main way they deal with it is having standard tournaments. And what the standard tournaments does is it only allows you, which is the go-to tournament kind of thing. It only allows you to use the basically newest 2 years worth of cards. But the newest 2 years worth of cards can be anywhere between 4 to 8 sets of cards, depending on where you're at that year. Because basically the way it works is you have core set A, then you have subset for A1, A2, A3, and then you have B1, core set B, and then you have subset B1, B2, B3, and then when core set, and you can use all 8 of those, but when core set C comes out, then all of A and the subsets get wiped. So then you can't use A1, A2, A3. You can only use B1 through 3 and C. So there's only 5 sets active at that time, and then you get C1, C2, C3, and then when D1 comes out, all of B gets wiped.
And that works for deck builders, but that system could never be implemented in a hero collector game.
But maybe it could. I don't know any way it could be off the top of my head, but there's probably a way to do something like that. But the fact is they wouldn't want to, because that crushes their business model, their abusive business model, rather.
Because the second a game says, hey, that 6-star unit that you just spent $100 to collect, you can't use them in PvP, that entire fan base is gone, basically.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, they could actually make that even more abusive. I don't even want to say how they could, because something evil just came in my mind. But they could actually make it even more abusive that way. And I don't want to mention it because I don't want anybody to take that and run with it.
And that's the thing. Like, whenever we have these discussions, like we talked to Ramin about this as well, it is very easy to do bad monetization practices. And I've said this a lot. Like, when I see YouTubers and streamers, call developers idiots and morons. Angry Joe went on a rant about Madden 2021 a few days ago. That is not how you want to have these discussions. Because it's not about stupidity. It is about a very finely tuned set of metrics to get the most value out of the stuff. This is not stupid when developers do this. This is, malicious.
Well, usually it's the publishers that do it, unless you're talking about small games, indie games and stuff.
Or mobile games.
Yeah, or mobile games.
Yeah. Like, when we spoke to Rami about this, like, he studies psychology. He knows the best ways to kind of tweak and make somebody addicted to his games. And
oh yeah, he could absolutely, abuse the crap out of people.
Oh yeah, and he said that like it would be easy. Like I know some of the stuff as well, and I can think of very effective ways to generate so much revenue for these games. And they would,
so do I. I know a lot of them.
Because we've studied design. We've looked behind that curtain. So it is a very tough thing to do because there's a reason why this stuff works. There's a reason why it makes money because it works. It's very effective to get people engaged in a game. Again, you tell somebody, here's a super powerful card or a super powerful hero. He's only going to be available for the next 2 weeks, so you better spend money now. And lo and behold, people will spend a lot of money on that. I saw a bunch of YouTubers who streamed like Arknights who were like shocked when they got like the monetization results from when they released a limited time banner. Like, the game earned $3 million in 24 hours? But how? All they did was release a unique limited time character.
I think you just answered yourself there.
No, that's them saying it. I already knew that answer. Like that was.
I'm referring to them.
Yeah.
They just answered themselves.
Mm-hmm. And it reminds me again of that Battlefield free-to-play game where the developers were like, they released like a, they try to do their big expose on Gamma Sutra, trying to, say that, we squared the circle, we figured it out. When we sold higher quality weapons in our store, our game earned like 100 times more revenue. Here's a TED Talk about how that worked.
Here's a TED Talk about how to abuse your consumers.
Mm-hmm. And again, like, it's always that fine line to walk with these kinds of games. Because I do like these kinds of designs. Again, the whole idea of building a team, building a deck, that gets at that strategy, tactical mindedness that I like. I know Shark likes as well.
No, I hate tactical games, especially tactical RPGs. I would.
Do you hate rock, paper, scissors too?
Yes, I hate tactical, rock, paper, scissors games that start with that start with the name Chromasia, the word of the day.
Mm-hmm. But
the game that I made.
But the problem is that they seem to be tied to very annoying monetization practices, and the positive examples are always outweighed by the negatives.
Mm-hmm. And that's the reason why free-to-play has such a bad reputation, because, free-to-play is not a bad model. Free-to-play can be a very, very good model, and I'm working on building one just like that kind of thing. But the thing is if done wrong, if anything's done wrong, it can be a very bad model. I mean, there's definitely, paid games that do all the bad stuff that free-to-play does. Looking at you, AAA, with your loot boxes and everything else in there on your $60 game, that's just a free-to-play game that you had to pay $60 for. It's a $60
Madden. Sorry.
To play.
Sorry, I had a cough there.
That's not free-to-play. That's $60 to play, kind of thing. Same as that model, just, $60 up front instead of $0.
Yeah. So here's a question I want to ask you about, and I want to throw this in the chat. Because there's one distinction that I see between some of these hero collector kind of games. Some games have a hard limit on the power level of a character. Meaning that if I have a 3-star character, let's say they can only go up to level 30. While a 5-star character can go up to level 70. Then there are hero collectors where you can level up everybody to reasonably the same level. So you can take a 3-star character, take them to level 100, just as you could a 6-star character. Now, obviously the 6-star character has higher base stats, But I think it still allows for some measure of viability there.
Yeah, I mean that's way the Bleach game does.
Yeah.
And it's not just the like it allows all the characters to upgrade their like you can have a con that is 7 stars. You can have a 7-star con. You can have a 7-star Rukia. You can have a 7-star Ichigo. You can have a 7-star Aizen. You can have a 7-star Yamamoto. All the characters go up to 7 stars. You just got to get the shards to take them up to that level. Most of them start up at like 2 or 3 or 1 kind of thing. And the main difference between them is the different powers they have, because like they have really 3 powers that really make a big difference, and 3 that are definitely impactful, but they don't make that much of a difference. As a strategy kind of thing. They have like the 3 ones that really do make a difference is your passive ability, whatever that does, all the time. You've got your mastery, which or rage attack, which happens after you take so much damage. You can pull that one off, and you got your skill base, which your skill base is purely RNG. Whenever it pops up, you can use it, kind of thing. And then you have your regular basic attack on top of that. Just which is the same thing as your skill without your skill.
Yeah.
It's just a skill-less attack. And the main difference between them is those and the base stats kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what really determines a lot of the power between them. But outside of that, the other 3 abilities do affect it, but they're less of an effect, and they're pretty much universal between all of them, because those 3, like the first one will either be like attack up level 1 or level 2. Level 2 is obviously better than level 1, but that's that skill, It'll be one of the 2, and even level 2 doesn't have that much of an advantage over level 1. And then there's like the next one that is either HP up 1 or 2 or attack up 1 or 2. And the next one's HP up 1 or 2 or attack 1 or 2 or maybe defense 1 or 2. And it's just a basic stat up, kind of thing. And, I mean, that does have an effect, but, the fact is most characters that you could build a good strategy around has the 2s.
Mm-hmm.
So, the thing is if you see a character that has 1s for that, they're probably not a character that's going to be viable in any kind of way, because their passives are going to suck, their masteries are going to suck, all the other stuff is going to suck probably. So, you can just look at a character and be like, yeah, that one's not going to be good, kind of thing, just not invest any points into it kind of thing.
Yeah. And like that was one of the issues I ran into with Marvel's Contest of Champions, that they lock the power levels of the low rarity characters. So there is an inherent limit on how far somebody can play the campaign if they don't pull 4, 5, and 6-star units. And that to me just does not work from a monetization perspective, because when you're limiting what the player can do, on top of the loot box, then you're just like really killing their ability to win unless they spend lots of money. Yeah.
And if you think about the way Bleach does it, it's almost more abusive than it's anti-abuse, because like it's, I mean, it's better for the free players because they can get all the stars on everything. Technically, you can get every character in the game as a free player, because you can save up, you can, just not spend any of your free jades that you get, save up for an event and get your limited heroes kind of thing. But the thing is when you get the limited heroes and everything, more than likely, whatever character you get are going to be 2, 3 stars, to start off with, and then they're not really valuable until you get to like 4 or 5 stars.
Yep.
And as a free player, getting any character up to that point, besides the common ones, is pretty dang hard, and
Yes.
So like you really have to focus if you're trying to be any kind of viable, have any kind of viable characters in that kind of thing. And it's almost more abusive in that way, but it's more consumer friendly at the same time because a free player that knows what they're doing can actually get somewhere in that, but a free player that can't will be more forced to spend money or just suck horribly.
Oh, yes. And that was one of the things with, what was that, Marvel Strike Force, that you have to get the character, then you have to upgrade the character, and which means collecting even more of their shards. And it just becomes that endless circle of, being stuck in that sense of grind. And to add on to that, in order to get the legendary characters, you need to have certain characters at specific ranks. And one of the things that they really started to do, like when I finally quit that game, was they were releasing event characters that would work, they would synergize with another team, but you would need a completely different set of characters in order to get them. And, team synergies was such a big point of that game that it made it to completely destroy any sense of, coming up with your own teams or your own strategies.
Yeah, I mean, with the Bleach one, what they did was they didn't have any kind of specific synergies kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what they did do is they had like, I forget what they called it, but they basically had this, relationships, I think is what they called it.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, every character had relationships with other characters kind of thing. And, it would give you, like, this one would give you, an attack boost. This one would give you an HP boost. This one would give you an attack or HP boost. And basically, the way you unlock those is having all the characters in that set kind of thing. Like, like I remember Mayuri, one of his was just, you had to have Mayuri and Nemu kind of thing. But with Kenpachi, I know one of his, you had to have Kenpachi, you had to have Yumichika, you had to have Yachiru, and you had to have Ikaku to unlock that one. And then once you unlock them, that's just level 1. And then after that, it's you go up in level by the number of stars combined between all the characters in that thing. So like, like the Nemu and Mayuri is the easier one to level up because you just have to get your Mayuri up and your Nemu up. But like with the Kenpachi where he's got 4, you've got to get 4 characters all the way up in their stars to get each level kind of thing. And like, like I think the second level, like it depends on how many characters are in there, but like I know with like the like the final level is all of the characters in that set are completely maxed in their stars, which is where you use your character shards to get the stars on the upgrades, as well as summoning the character to begin with.
And I don't think it going like the next 10 or so minutes, but the final point that I want to make, and then I'll throw over to you, is that another aspect behind the hero collectors and what makes them different from deck builders normally is the amount of subsystems that get attached to these games. Because the general gameplay is always kept very basic. Many of these games just allow you to turn on autoplay and just win like that. But you then run into, okay, you need to properly craft gear. Then you have to make sure the gear is properly slotted. And probably every character has their own unique passive tree. And then there's probably another system to ascend or, re-roll characters. And you get all these different layers of systems that, in all honesty, they're not changing how you play the game. It's just, numbers for the sake of numbers.
Well, it's all these different ways to upgrade your character, basically.
Yep. And that's one thing.
It's all the same thing, broken down into many different systems. And they purposely do it to a way to be confusing, which is the reason why, if you know a game really well and you know how to break down the game design, kind of thing, and you know how to get what's best kind of thing, then what you can do is you can go in there as a free player and you can do insanely well
With
and
very little.
beat a lot of the playing characters, because I did that many times before. I would go in as a free player and get the top 10, and the top 100s are, like the 100s had paid, 100 plus, put $100+ into the game kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting here with zero into it, and I'm, they're not even competition for me. They're just, like I flick my pinky and they go flying like 10 miles. I'm like Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and they're like, or Super Saiyan, Blue Goku, and they're like Krillin from the Saiyan
Saga. I was going to say that. Yeah, that's the same with Guardian Tales. Because I signed on that right time, got those two best characters, I'm now, the beast of PvP because of that. If you don't have to counter those two characters, I win immediately. Doesn't matter if you spent, $500 on the game, I win by default.
Mm-hmm.
And all these systems, again, just like with currency, they're designed to confuse the player so they make mistakes. So that, did I just spend my resources on the bogus upgrade system? Well, now I need to go grind, do the right way.
Oh, and you gotta love it when they add new systems in that are specifically bullcrap. Like I remember, they added in a new system recently. It's like it looked really good at first because it's like, hey, you get to pick which character you want, and then you get to spin for that specific character, kind of thing.
Mm-mm.
But then you look at it, and you can, like you do the regular gacha and everything, you get 10 spins for like 2,200 jades, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do this spin, and you're not guaranteed anything, even one shard, more or less a complete character kind of thing. And, you're guaranteed to not get anything from any character but the one character you select. And the odds of you getting a complete character, the one you select, is 0.4%. And the odds of you getting, I think, like 20 shards of that character, which, you're going to need to get 20 shards probably about 20 times to get the character.
Mm-hmm.
That one's going to, I think that was like 1% or something. And like, I think the highest, like you get 2 shards of that character. And that was the worst shard you could get. And I think that was something like 2.4%. So like when you added all of the character stuff up, it was less than 5%. And you know what the cost on that, with the cost of a 10 spin was on that?
What?
$4,900.
Oof.
Well over double.
Yeah.
Almost practically 2.5. And it pretty much guaranteed little to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It pretty much guaranteed that you were going to get little to nothing. That's pretty much what it was a guarantee of.
Yeah.
And like, not only that, but they had a bug in it because like one of the YouTubers I was watching on that, he clicked to see the more information, to see the rewards.
Mm-hmm.
And when he did that, it spun for him.
Oh.
It did a 10 spin. And then when you look at the video replay, it's clear that he did not click it. He clicked the other button that was really dubiously close to that one. And he submitted that for, a refund and everything. They said supposedly they're going to give him a refund, and supposedly they're going to give other people a refund. But, how many people are actually going to go to support over that,
Yeah.
And how many people are they actually going to refund on that?
Oh, yes. And that is definitely one of those very big sticking points for some of these games, that you can have all these systems that are just confusing on top of each other. You can add in a brand new one that can completely wreck the balance of your game. Marvel Strike Force added in a second rarity system with red stars, which I know a few hero collectors do. So not only do you have to grind for one thing, you have to grind for a second thing. And of course, as always, the person who gets the lucky picks or spends the most money gets a stupidly high advantage over everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's all that I want to say on this. So any topics that you want to bring up now, Shark, for hero collectors?
Well, we can talk a little bit more about the deck builder side.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about deck builders is you can, like the thing we were talking about earlier about how Magic the Gathering makes those, every 2 years kind of phase out to where you can only play the 2 newest years kind of thing. And it's not, a lot of people think it's just to, keep people from using the cards they bought, you know what I mean? And be an anti-consumer. But it's not that. It's actually to help consumers, new consumers specifically. Because when you get into a game and they've been up for 20 years, 30 years kind of thing, there is millions of cards at that point, or hundreds of thousands of cards at that point. And you come in with just your newest set, there's no way you're going to win. You could play for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and there's no way you could even remotely win, because these people have cards going back eons that is physically impossible for you to get without paying $5 million for a Black Lotus kind of thing.
Yeah, and not only that, but it would be the absolute nightmare of balancing. As a game developer, can you balance, 1,500 to 5,000 different cards in your game, make your game perfectly balanced? The answer is no, and you will go insane trying.
Yeah, it would be bad, and that's one of the main reasons why they cycle out cards every 2 years kind of thing. I plan on doing something similar with mine. I don't know if it's going to be 2 years or where I'm going to draw that line, but but I am going to make sure that consumers can still use the cards that they bought by creating another mode that allows them to use all the cards kind of thing. And it's just not official kind of thing. Well, it's on the official game, but it's not like represented in the main tournament brackets kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's its own separate thing to where, players can play and have fun with all the cards they have kind of thing. Where the main mode, the standard, is, going to be tight niched, and, I have that only newest 2 years of cards kind of thing. And to help with balance and everything, and to help with new players that join from being completely, outclassed no matter how long they play. I mean, a new player, joining is going to be outclassed anyway. But, he's not going to be outclassed with no chance to ever get into class kind of thing. He's going to be outclassed until he gets some cards, and then probably until he learns the game, and it's probably going to take him several sets to learn the game kind of thing. Yeah. You don't just pick up and you can get the basics really quickly, but you can't just get all these high level strategies in a week kind of thing. This is going to take months or years kind of thing, and or at least several months kind of thing. And by the time they're several months in, 2 or 3, 4 sets have come out, and they've bolstered their library kind of thing to where they've got to the point where they could compete. Maybe they don't have 2 years of of cards to use, but they have 1 year. And if it goes by Magic standards, the next month, all that year before is going to go away, and they're going to have all the cards that everybody else has.
Yeah, and I think another point about this is the importance of matchmaking as well. That somebody who just starts playing your game should not be, 8 miles or, 800 miles close to your super high-end PvP players. Because that is going to kill the experience. That's where that player versus victim idea that Ramin talked about comes in. You want players to have some chance at winning. It shouldn't be a case, again, somebody who is incredibly skilled can make do with a free deck. We see this with, the pro players of Hearthstone or Gwent, that they will frequently make free-to-play accounts, and they will do really well because they understand the mechanics. They put a lot more value into those cards than somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. Conversely, you'll have hero collectors or mobile games where it's, your team is ranked 200. Here, go fight somebody who's ranked 10,000. See if you can beat him.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, it obviously becomes very frustrating, and there's a reason for that. I think Activision, weren't they the ones who were trying to copyright that or trademark it? The idea of purposely putting free players against pay-to-win players,
Yeah.
and, to convince them to spend more money.
I don't know which company it was, but I remember somebody definitely did that.
Yeah.
I think it was the Call of Duty series, wasn't it?
Yeah, which would have been, I think, Activision.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, again, this is why these systems become very scummy when they're not handled properly. Like, with your Magic example and with a lot of deck builders, there is an LO ranking to this. So that somebody who is the best player, they will never interact with a brand new player and vice versa. Because that doesn't help either one of those people.
Well, it could if you do it right. And the way to do it right is by doing it, like we're going to have guilds and stuff, and we're going to have chat systems, and people can talk, and learn from the more advanced players, kind of thing.
Yeah, but I'm referring specifically to player versus player content.
Yeah.
You do not want those groups to be meeting, and we see this very frequently in a lot of hero collectors and lesser deck builders, where they will just throw everybody into the pool together. And what ends up happening, of course, is that you run into these various walls. That as a free-to-play person, you won't be able to you will get stuck at a specific point. And your option is either grind or spend money. But like I've said before, there's always another wall. That is the nightmare and the beauty of these games. You can keep extending things out. Again, with the Goku example from the Dragon Ball games, there's always another version of Goku that they can add and, pump his stats up by a few thousand points.
Yep. And it's always topping yourself kind of thing.
Yep.
And, some card games do that too, but some don't. Some, keep a balance kind of thing. I know, the Dragon Ball Z card game did a little bit of both kind of thing. Like they didn't cycle out any of their old cards kind of thing. So all the old cards were still viable in the tournaments kind of thing. But they power scaled it, so every set was more powerful than the other kind of thing. So that they never technically had to do it. But they didn't meet me yet. Yeah. And then I built, Goku is far from my favorite character. Gohan's my favorite character, and sadly he was my fourth or fifth, sixth best deck kind of thing, even though I put everything I could to build that one up. But then my Goku deck, I ran a very basic Goku, and I ran Saiyan cards, and all the Saiyan cards could draw that I ran could draw more cards or draw cards from my discard pile. and then I ran also cards that have multiple uses, and then I ran a few key cards from the first sets, the Goku's physical attack, which was one of the lamest cards back in the day, back in the first set. It was just a physical attack that does plus nothing. It's just whatever damage you would do off your power level, and it used twice, but it has Goku's name in it. And my power, I can't remember exactly what my power is, but my power was if I use a Goku named card, it does something really good. And that was a Goku named card that was usable twice, would go back to my discard pile, and then I had another card that would say I could pull Goku guard named cards out of my discard pile into my hand kind of thing. And, it wouldn't do much damage at first. It would only be I would be at full power. They would be at full power. I'd do plus, I do 3 stages, and then they would go down, and then I would do 4 stages, and then they would go down 4, and then I would do 5 stages, and then they would hit 0, and now I'm doing 9 stages, and I would just keep on drawing cards and everything. And this is a game that's only meant to have a hand size of 3 or 4 kind of thing, because there's no mana cost, no nothing. You can play any card that's in your hand kind of thing. The problem is that you just, there generally isn't a way to get cards in your hand. But I built this deck specifically around getting cards in my hand. And basically, the second I would declare combat with 3 hands in my card, hand, they would never even have a turn. And I would just draw take out their deck, draw, take out their deck, draw, take out their deck, draw, take out their deck, and just completely wipe them out before they even got a turn. Because I was just able to not infinitely draw, but close enough to infinitely draw that I could just one-shot them without them ever getting a turn.
Nice.
And it was really broken.
Yep, and that's...
Do what?
I was saying, yeah, that's the major point about how these games can work so well is that you can figure out those amazing strategies. That's where that level of understanding complexity come in.
It's also where the understanding of game design can make you really OP at card games.
There we go. That guest that we had on who worked on why do I always forget the name of the game? Duelist. That he went to do, he participated in Netrunner tournaments, and he managed to completely break the meta because he understood how the game worked. And yeah, again, that's the beauty about these games and why they're so alluring. It's that idea of figuring out all these little moving parts and putting it together that works. But
yeah, I remember when I was playing the Dark Hack card games, I was 7th in the world.
Nice.
I was number 2 in Tennessee, and number 1 in the world was in Tennessee. And when the meta is the best characters to run. It worked like where your characters were the defense, and you used monsters to attack, right? And basically, the best characters were the heavy blades, because they had the second. Actually, they had the highest destiny in the game, which was a number in the top of the card that was basically your RNG. Because any fight you do, you have to turn over the top card of your deck, and whatever was your destiny on that card gets added to the attack or defense. So they had the best stat on that in the game. They also had the second best attack, defense, the attack on their PCs kind of thing. And the only one that was higher than them was a heavy axeman, which had one of the lowest destinies in the deck in the game. And they had all these really powerful powers and everything. And then the most powerful, monsters in the game were plants, because they were just, they were easy to play. They had the highest destiny of all the monsters in the game. They had they had all these powers to just completely wreck all of your monsters, including the ones that counted as your score points. And they were just OP. And everybody, the meta was to run those two.
Of course.
I never got on that meta. The meta also was to never run Twin Blades or Wave Masters, because they were the most horrible things, because they both had really low destiny. They were the lowest 2 on destiny, but they were one. The Twin Blades were tied with the Heavy Axeman for worst destiny, but the Wave Masters were just a little bit above that. And they had the Twin Blades had really good powers, but they were one use. It was wound this character and do this one thing, which was not worth it, because the second time they get hit, they die, and then you lose all the gear that you put on them. And you just lost 8 cards that you put on there, and you just got set back, and now you're open for attack even more. Yeah. And then the same thing with the Wave Masters. They had that one, wound them, and then they die. And then the other worst one, the worst monster, was the water monsters. The sharks.
Oh, good.
and everything, and because they were really easy to play because they were really cheap, but they had no attack power. They were all 2s and 3s kind of thing, and the occasional 4, where the others had 6s, 7s, 8s, and a weak Blade Master was Heavy Blade was a 5 or 6. So the only way you're going to get through is if you swarmed them. But the thing is when you swarm them, only certain ones you can swarm with, and only certain. And even when you swarm, you can only get one score point of each one off of each fight, kind of thing. And they had decent powers though. So, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to take the crappiest of both of them and make a good, amazing deck out of it. So what I did was...
we do have to get going, though, in a few minutes, so...
Yeah.
Not time for deck building strategies.
Well, this is real quick. Basically, I took the worst Wave Master, Mistral, wound her, stack a card on top of my deck. I can do that at any point. All the blue had just nothing but healing kind of thing, so I could just heal that wound constantly and just spam her all the time and use that wound to stack a card on top of my deck. And then the Twin Blades had powers like wound them to add 2 to any destiny at any time. And it also had like a card that, like, as a defender, if it wins, I can wound one of your PCs. Because it was one of the PvPers in the .hack universe kind of thing. So what I did and it also had a hero that said all skill cards get +2 destiny. So there was a Twin Blade water card that was a skill card with 5 destiny on it, the only one. So that could be, and 5 was the highest you could get in the game. So, with that other PC out there, it could turn to 7 destiny. And then I could add 2 destiny to any time with my Natsume, where she gets +2 to anything. And then I can, use Mistral to stack that on top of my deck every time I defend. So, like, it was an impenetrable defense. No matter what they attacked me with, they could basically never get through. And if they were going to get through, I knew that they were going to get through. And I would just choose not to block and not take the wounds of my PCs, and then use my water monsters to attack with and heal my PCs back up so I could keep on spamming the move. and it was just this perfect defense kind of thing. And like the first in Tennessee, number 1 in the world, he was like nothing. He was nothing to me. Like he was like Super Saiyan 4, versus,
right. I do have to get going, though. All right. Sorry, we gotta cut the strategy discussion here. But with that, folks, I do have to get running for tonight. I hope you enjoyed the cast. Let us know what you think about our new logo, about the new mic, and if you have any suggestions for future topics. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at GWBicer, and you'll find links to our Patreon and Discord linked down below.
And don't forget to come to the Discord and continue the discussion in the Discord. Josh should be making a new channel for that.
Yep. And you'll find links to Shark's Discord, as well as his Twitter and YouTube channel in the description down below as well.
And you can come in there and talk to me about strategies of, old card games.
All right.
As well as the new one that I'm making. It makes sense that, that the top player from the .hack card game, arguably even though I wasn't top ranked, I literally beat all the top ranks. He's making the card game.
All right, everyone, that is going to do it. So we'll be back next Sunday around 4:30 EDT for our next stream. And I'll be back nightly around 9:30 for our regular streams. So, have a great rest of your weekend, and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. Until next time, take care.